everyone says it's an Andy Reid offense. He has 51%. I'm not going to say it's not, but it is a collective. It is a collective group putting this offense together. And I ask everybody, come on in, see who's standing up in front of our offense, getting us ready for situational football. Who's in front of us week in, week out at halftime, trying to make adjustments. Who is the guy that's rallying this group and has the emotion to, as a player and as a coach, to keep us firing as an offensive unit? And that's Eric Bienemy. And I've been a big fan of him my entire career. He's done unbelievable things for my skill set personally and my mentality in terms of helping me grow as a player, and more than deserving. I'm sick of hearing all these names I've never heard of come across the ticker, getting hired across the league.
That's pink suit Travis Kelce on the night before the ESPYs started or something like that back in the day when he was like the co-host or the MC for the SBs.
He's too big for that now. They got to get Peyton Manning to do that. Seriously, Travis is way too big to host the SBs anymore.
Look at where they've gone.
Yeah, exactly. So, but interesting stuff there about Eric Bienemy coming back. I thought Carrington's tweet yesterday kind of nailed it for me. For a fan base that wanted change for the last 2 months, they're really celebrating the return of Eric Bienemy, and that pretty much nailed it for me yesterday. And we told you, 9 days ago or whatever it was now that Eric Bienemy was coming back, and the reaction by the fan base is pretty split. It's either great or it's awful, right? There's no in between on this one. And I think the people who think it's awful, like myself, I'm not a huge fan of this move. I did want something different. I wanted something new. I wanted something unique and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I all know what the deal is. This is Andy Reid's offense, and everybody else is just kind of, ancillary in it. And so he wanted somebody that he felt, good with, comfortable with. And so we have Eric Bienemy, and it is what it is, right?
Yeah. I think this is a two-sided ordeal. I think when you look at the way that this situation has happened, I think we start with the obvious, and I will give you what the obvious is. And if you don't know what the obvious is, buckle up. Andy Reid has given you enough of a resume to not question a damn thing what he does.
You're right.
Right?
Yep.
He's given you 5 Super Bowl appearances, 3 Super Bowl titles, 9 AFC West titles, 1 losing season out of 13. He's the longest tenured coach in the NFL. The closest the next person is 4 years away, and he's currently going for his 2nd Super Bowl title and only his 3rd appearance, and that would be Sean McVay.
Right.
After that, it is Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco, who does not have a title, who probably has a lot of questions that are fair to ask, but there is clout, right? There's clout with McVay. Andy Reid has double that. So whatever Andy Reid does, unfortunately for you, if you question it, there is the backside of the conversation that is, yeah, well, here's all of this. And you go, damn, okay. Now, the other side of the conversation, I think all 3 of us in this room, 2 rooms, all have the same opinion. We all 3 wanted to see the team go outside of the norm, buck the trend, right? Because maybe to start something new and fresh from something that was so great is the ability to bring in a fresh new mind. And you would have liked to have seen that. But what they did is they brought in Eric Bienemy. So I will say, I think some will just be fine with it, like Carrington's tweet. Some will just be like, all right, Eric Bieniemy's back. We got a red ass. This is what we wanted. Some people will be like, oh, well, it's Eric Bieniemy. It's a coach of the past that's been in the circle, that's close to Andy Reid, that's all of this. And then there's other people that will say, I don't think this works. And if it doesn't, I think Andy should be done with the Chiefs. Because, yes, the past was there. The past was great, and all those accolades are there. But it's always what comes down to what? It's not what you've done for me in the past. It's what have you done for me lately.
Yeah.
And if this doesn't work, if they bring Eric Bieniemy, because the pros of Eric Bieniemy are the ones that make me sick in the face that I hear all the time. This was the best offense they've ever had when Eric Bieniemy was here.
Everybody was 5 years younger.
And they had Tyreek Hill, and they had a 25-year-old Patrick Mahomes, and they had Travis Kelce.
And they had an offensive line they never had worried about.
And so, yes, those numbers are great. They were fun. And another pro of Eric Bienemy is he is not afraid to hold back, whether it's Andy Reid or whether it is Patrick Mahomes or whether it is, I don't know, Matt Araiza, the punter. He will call you the F out. There's videos of him calling out Adrian Peterson, and then 8 years later, Adrian Peterson going, I'm not the running back I was today if I didn't have Eric Bienemy as my coach. There's the audio you just heard of Travis Kelce doing this. But again, guys, if it does not work out with Eric Bienemy, then all the people that wanted to attack Drew and say, oh, you can't move on or have the conversation moving on from Andy Reid, I'm assuming Bieniemy's going to get a couple of years. But I ask you, what is it that you need to see from this offense? What is it you need? Will there be a very evidential evidence of Eric Bieniemy's presence as a coach on this team that will give you the idea to say, well, I'm glad they made that move?
Well, I mean, the only thing we're going to see is him yelling on the sidelines, And again, it's Andy Reid's offense. You can have all the people you want there chipping in, and at the end of the day, Andy's calling the plays, and Andy's making those final decisions, as you heard Travis say right there. He's got 51% of the offense. That's an understatement, right? Andy Reid's got all percents of the offense. Now, he'll listen, I guess, and, take advice at times and whatnot. But I think for me, we need better players as much as we needed a new offensive voice or new change or anything like that. Going into next season with the running back group that we have right now is totally unacceptable. Going into the season with the wide receiver group that we have right now is totally unacceptable. And so, yes, coaches needed to be moved out and coaches needed to be changed. Nobody's arguing that. But that's just the beginning. You have to go out there and get those players that are real football players at the running back position, right? I don't want to come back, no offense to these guys, but Ware and West. I don't want that to be the running back situation next year. I want Breece Hall. I'm going to get greedy and say, I want Breece Hall here next year. He's 24 years old. You're talking about 10 or 11 million bucks a year at high-end money for a running back. That is a guy who I don't like free agency, but at that position, at that age, for what he's been able to do, and not a lot of wear and tear because he's played for the Jets. So that's a guy that I would bring in here. So, yeah, you started with the coaches, obviously, because you can do that now. But we're just beginning. We need new players in here as much as we needed these new coaches. And I'll say this, I'm more excited for the wide receiver coach than I am for Eric Bienemy coming in here. And I think the wide receiver coach has a great resume. I remember vaguely him being here with Vermeil back in the day. I remember that
20
name.
years ago or something?
Yeah,
right?
but I remember names always, especially when it's that first era that you've actually worked in and covered these guys. You remember, and I remembered that name. And 20 years later, after being a wide receiver coach in New England for a very long time, in Cleveland for his resume is really good. And I saw he got hired yesterday. I looked at that guy's resume. I'm like, that guy's worked with a lot of different. I like that hire a lot by Andy Reid. That's a really nice hire in my opinion. Yep. Eric Bienemy is the same old, same old. So you got to get new players in it as well because that running back position was just unacceptable this year.
Yeah, if we're going to do the whole EB had Tyreek and everything, he also didn't in 2022, which the text line has made sure to come up and mention. That was Patrick Mahomes' best year. So if you're going to do that, he had Tyreek. He also didn't, and it was Mahomes' best season. He won MVP. So we got to play both sides with EB there.
What were Travis's numbers that year, and how old was
Travis
he?
was great.
Yeah,
Travis was in
and
his
how
prime.
old was? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's fine. He had
the greatest tight end of all time.
Right.
We've seen many offenses, a plethora of offenses, more offenses than not that have one elite weapon that don't do what they're supposed to do.
Are they the greatest of that position, though?
We've seen the Patriots offense with Gronkowski and they got the Super Bowl, but not be electric, not be explosive. Yeah, absolutely, that's happened.
But they also back.
I'm just saying, you got to say both. You got to mention both.
Yeah, but also you had a very young Isaiah Pacheco at that point.
I also
in time.
didn't just use Tyreek Hill. I said Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. That's why the offense was great.
Yeah, it's great. And then they got rid of Tyreek Hill, an all-time wide receiver. Yeah, and they still were great.
And
Patrick Mahomes got better.
Yeah, absolutely got better. But is that because of Eric Bienemy, or is that because everything just worked?
Now that I don't know.
Because
but
he left and they went and won 2 more Super Bowls without him, So
100%.
it's you can make a great case for Eric Bienemy. You can make a great case against Eric Bienemy, and you could present both of those cases. And if I'm the jury, I'm voting for both. It's just one of those type of things that the Eric Bienemy truthers will have their side. The Eric Bienemy detractors will have their side. I look at it and I go, Andy Reid, as Dusty said, had the opportunity to do what he wants and has done so many great things. You give Andy Reid the benefit of the doubt, but I will also say we're just not done here. You need to get better players in there. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to, man. Coaches are great and whatnot, but if you don't have the talent, it doesn't matter who your coaches are at the NFL level. You've got to have that talent. And the Chiefs, quite frankly, were void of talent at the running back position in a major way. The more we look back at it, the more we realize they were a void of talent, and they were really at a void of talent on their coaching staff with that Embry guy coaching wide receivers for the last couple of years, because none of those guys took that next step and grew as a wide receiver.
See what happens. Just for reference, Travis Kelce had the second best year of his career in 2022, and that's insane. Either way, I mean, I hope it works. I will say the biggest pro is I think he keeps people accountable, and I think that's something that this team needs.
What's his second pro?
He's got running back knowledge.
Yeah, they ran the ball more.
Yeah, they did. They knew how to run. And if you want Breece Hall and Bieniemy and a team that needs to change a little bit of its identity, I would enjoy that.
Also, he just got done working with the best offensive mind in football right now. As we speak.
That's a good bonus. It really is.
Great bonus.
But now.
Yeah, obviously. Does Andy listen? Of course. No, that's the whole thing. But we would be saying that with anyone that they would hire.
That's what I'm saying. Right. Because you brought that up, and I've got to play that counter spot. Yeah. Like, okay, that's great, but.
Yeah, if it was Nate Shieldhouse, we're like, yay! Now is Andy going to give a rip? Right. Yeah.
That's why I say that there's both sides of that conversation, because you have to give him the benefit of the doubt, but also it's like, how long does he have? Is it when he gets done with the contract, you're like, all right, dude, we're still stale on offense.
100%.